Hey everybody, it's EJ from Eyedesyn.com, and today we're going to have some fun making some drippy, ooey gooey candy lollipops in Cinema 4D. And I made this little melty kind of action going on, and believe it or not, I found a way to use the Jiggle Deformer, my all-time favorite deformer, to get that kind of drippy kind of look. And this workflow that I'll be going through will be very helpful in many other areas. So we're going to be talking about weight maps specifically, and how to use them with different deformers, specifically the Jiggle Deformer here. So let's go ahead and let's recreate our lollipop here. And let's first make the stick. And this will be very easy. Just going to get a cylinder here and just kind of round it off a little bit, like so. And see, there we go. Rounded that sucker off. Now let's make the goodness, the good part, the fun part, the most important part, that sweet candy bit part. So let's go ahead and we're just going to use a sphere. Let's actually go turn on our shadings here, or our lines, so we can actually see our lines. And we want to do it somewhat low poly. So I think this is pretty good. And then what we're going to do is, first we're going to need to extrude that little middle band that you see in your traditional lollipops. So let's try to get that middle band there. So that's exactly what I want. I'm going to make this editable, hit C. Boop. And let's do loop selection. So I'm going to hit U, and then L to get a loop selection. And I need to also choose what polygon mode I want, or which mode I want. So I need to get the polygons and then do my loop selection. There we go. And I'm just going to do an extrude. So M, T, to extrude. And I'm going to extrude it twice, so to get a nice little sharp edge. So what we're going to do after is put a subdivision surface. So we want to do one extrude, and then another extrude, and actually do one last one just to make this inner edge sharp and this outer edge sharp. So now once we put this in a subdivision surface, you can see that we now have that little lollipop, a little ridge thing. I wonder what the story behind this little ridge thing is anyways, but there we are. We have our lollipop, and for now, let's just throw a really simple material on this. So let's make this, let's do a blue, like teal action here. Let's give it just a little bit of luminance. And don't know why that's not working. Let's get some more teal in here. Give it just a little bit of luminance. Get some reflect that's going on. Use Beckman. Let's adjust this a little bit. And then we'll just come back to that later. But the main thing I want to do is get some transparency, like so. And that'll be good for now. Now we render and we can actually see a little stick inside there. So cool. All right, so this is where the fun's going to start. Let's go ahead and group all this stuff together, and let's rename stuff. So this is popsicle, not popsicle, lollipop. Getting stuff confused here. So lollipop, and this is the lollipop, and that's the subdivision surface, and this is the stick. All right. So what I'm going to do is we're going to use a Jiggle Deformer to apply basically gravity or some kind of fake dynamics to move some of the mesh and affect some of this mesh so that it comes down and looks like it's melting. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to first define which parts of my geometry I want the Jiggle Deformer to affect. So let's just add our Jiggle Deformer first here. So there, and we'll make it a child of our lollipop. And you'll notice that we have this restriction tab. And this is where we can actually go and add like weight maps and stuff like that. Now weight maps is basically where you can kind of paint selections of polygons. So just like you can do like a polygon selection, like going in here and selecting some polygons, go to garage shading, and you can select some polygons and kind of set your selection. You can do the same thing, but also give it a weight. And I'll kind of explain this as I go along here. So let's go ahead, and I have my lollipop selected. And to make a weight selection, I'm going to go here and use the paint tool. And basically what you can do is I'm going to go and change this mode to add. You can adjust the strength, so it's just like painting with like a Photoshop brush, right? You can get in here, and you're going to notice that right when I kind of start painting, parts of my image or part of my geometry goes red, and where I'm painting kind of goes this like light yellow or tan. And you can kind of keep painting, and this is where you can paint which parts of your geometry or which polygons you want to be affected by the Jiggle Deformer. So we can get a little bit up here, and for this kind of drippy kind of workflow, I like to just make little selections, like circular selections almost, because if you think of a drip, it's more like a circular kind of thing. So I got 3 little selections there. Let's see what that looks like. So for this all to work, we need to actually go into our Jiggle Deformer and say, hey, restrict the jiggle to just that weight map here. So this little weight map tag, I'm just going to drag and drop, and then I'm going to hit play, and nothing's gonna happen. And that's because right now we have no forces affecting anything at all. So to apply gravity, we can go and we can either go and grab like a particle effector gravity, or we can use the built-in gravity. I'm just going to do that. And you notice as I start getting negative values in here, we have this like saggy lollipop going on. And we can go into our object, our Jiggle Deformer properties here, and start messing around with stuff. But you'll notice that the Jiggle Deformer is only being applied where our little yellow parts on the lollipop are that we painted with our weight map. So we can adjust the structural here, adjust the strength here to really make it really melty, and we can adjust the gravity here. So this is the beginning of restricting the Jiggle Deformer with weight maps and kind of getting into weight maps and stuff like that. If I can render this right here, this is a crappy texture right now, but we can have this play, and again I can like rotate this and rotate this off to the side, and you'll kind of see what I'm getting at. And this is the kind of the fun of the Jiggle Deformer, the joys of the Jiggle Deformer, that it's like this kind of fake dynamics. And since we have it applied to our lower poly object and then adding the subdivision surface, this is going to be a really quick and fast simulation here, right? So let's go ahead and take this even further. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to blow out that weight tag, or that weight tag, that weight map, and what we can do is have a lot more control over how the little drips kind of animate on. So we can actually animate individual drips, right? So to do this, go ahead and go to paint, and the first thing we're going to do is go and add a Pose Morph tag. Now what the Pose Morph tag is going to do is going to keep track of the maps on our on our object here. So if we select maps, we can go into this pose, and this can be like drip 1. And this is going to record all of the maps that we have on our Pose Morph. So let's go back to our base pose, and actually let's go to drip 1. This is going to be our first drip, and we'll paint our first drip here. So that's drip 1. And now we should be able to see, right now if I select that weight map, you'll see what we just painted. But if I go to my Pose Morph and adjust that drip strength down to 0, and I screwed this up. So let's go ahead and delete that. I think what I did wrong was you first need to have a weight tag already on there. So a vertex map already on there. Now you can start controlling some stuff and enable this map. So that's the first thing. You have to have that tag on first. Don't be a dummy like me. Get the maps going. This is our base pose. Let's go to a new pose. So this will be our drip one. And we can go to our weight map. Now we can start painting and editing that weight map. So let's make this kind of like a smaller drip. So again, like circular, nice little circular drip here. And a nice thing about this paint is if you're not happy with the paint, you can just kind of smooth everything out by using the smooth mode and just kind of blend all that in and make it nice and smooth. And get really in there, get a lot of nice control, like so. We can smooth that out a little bit too. All right, and now we should see that that's our drip one, and that's what our drip one weight map looks like. But if we adjust the strength of this, and we go to our weight map, you'll see that that strength is down. So now we're back to our original weight map with no yellow on it. Ta-da! So now we can adjust the strength of that painted weight map just by adjusting this strength of this drip one. So I can go ahead, and the first thing we need to do to actually even get this working is to, let's go ahead, go to base pose, and let's make sure we drag and drop that weight tag into the jiggle. So now that'll actually be restricted to just that weight map, that vertex map. So now we go to drip and hit play and then increase the strength here. You can see that we can start animating that drip. But the fun does not stop there, my friends, because the thing you can do is go ahead and add other drips. So we're still starting a new pose or a new drip or a new weight map, and we're gonna go into our same map, and let's add another drip right about there, and let's smooth that out. Let's go to our paint tool, smooth that out. And again, if you ever lose track of where you're at, just go back to character, go to the paint tool. Don't go to weight tool. You want the paint. And just start adding here. And that'll be recorded. That edit to the vertex map will be recorded in this drip too. All right. So let's go ahead and hit play. And you'll see that we have drip strength 2. And the nice thing about this is if we go into animate and hit play, we can start adjusting the individual drips by adjusting the weight map edit strength, and pretty dang cool, right? So this is kind of, you can really have a lot of fun with this and controlling, and then again, like animating these drips. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to adjust and animate the strength of these poses or these weight map edits by setting some keyframes here. Let's go into our timeline. Let's bring it over here. Sorry, it's too big. But we'll just adjust these two poses here. So we'll have the drip one kind of come on first, animate on first, and then the second drip strength. And we can adjust the Jiggle Deformer here, because right now we're dripping a little too low, I'd say. And we can always adjust that 2 different ways. We can adjust the gravity value, or just adjust the strength overall, or the stiffness here. So that's looking good. I think that's all right. So you can see our first drip kind of go, and then our second drip go as we animated our poses here. So just to kind of smooth everything out a little bit more, I like to always apply a what am I looking for? There we go. We're gonna get a smoothing and smooth everything out, and this is way too smoothed out. So we're gonna adjust the iterations, and then bring back some of that stiffness. So you can see how that kind of smooths everything out and kind of smooths or drips out. And the fun thing about this is that you can, again, always with the Pose Morph, you can go above 100%. So you can see I don't even have to hit play to actually see what this is doing. So we're going way above 100% and adjusting that single drip there. So let's go ahead and just for funds, let's add a final drip. So drip 3, and let's edit our weight map here. So let's get a drip on this side. And again, we're going to go to our paint tool and start painting. Get your Bob Ross on. Make some happy painted vertex maps. Let's smooth it out like so. And yeah, I think that's good. Actually make it smaller. A lot of our drips are fairly big. Let's just make a tiny drip. So right like that. Oop, oop, oop. All right. So there's a tiny little drip on the side that's not facing the camera, facing away from the camera. And again, that's recorded as drip 3. So let's go to animate, and we already have, so that's a drip 3 right back here. And one thing you'll notice is that it's not really sagging all that much. So what we might need to do if that's happening is you can either go into that weight map, and actually that's actually pretty solid yellow. So the only way we can really make that drip longer is by going into our, let me actually just go ahead and delete keyframes here. I just want to demonstrate like how you can edit this kind of on the fly. So let's make it so this drip 3 kind of falls fairly low. So let's go into our jiggle and let's adjust the gravity here. And so we can have that drip very low, but you'll see that all the other drips are kind of sagging way far too, but we can always adjust that with just the strength of those other ones. So now we can have like full control over how our drips look by just kind of adjusting this and say, so if we want to animate all of these on, we'll say, okay, we don't want that drip 1 to go past like 25%. Same with with the drip number 2. And drip number 3 can go all the way to 100 and have that really long drip. And again, we can go into our smoothing deformer here and kind of smooth everything out. So we get this really nice little like gooey, ooey gooey drip action going on here. Like so. So let's make this scene a little bit more attractive, shall we? So let's go ahead and let's get a material. Let me just make this radius say 5. Let's go into our little candy material. And one thing I like to do is for kind of see-through stuff is add like a Fresnel to kind of shade this object. So let's go in interactive render region here. And one handy tip that if you want to actually see through to the grid here and you don't want to see this black background, you can right click on that little arrow and go to alpha mode, and you can see the this will actually render as it would in your viewport if you render, and then you can actually see the background grid. So if you want to do that, you can do that. I actually like doing that. So now we can go into our Fresnel and start adjusting these colors. So say we want really bright teal to be the front, and then like a darker, actually let's do, whoop, just lost it. Let's do a bright teal and then something more white to the front, perhaps, maybe. let's do the other way. Let's make this a little darker. You can see what's going on is that basically it's shading everything that's not facing the camera a little lighter. Let's actually invert that so it's brighter as it faces the camera. And then let's just copy that for now. Let's multiply and increase the color strength of the brightness to really make that bright. Let's copy the Fresnel. Let's go into our luminance and paste that channel. So we now also have the Fresnel in here. The reflectance, we can also, we're actually in the transparency. Let's go ahead and paste that channel in there as well. See how that looks. And for the absorption color, this is kind of like the see-through color. We can get more of like a tealy kind of color in there. Make an multiply maybe, nah. Let's see what happens if we invert this. Now we're getting kind of see-through on the edges, so actually that doesn't look very good. So let's invert that again. Make this dark so we can actually see through it more, since it's like using kind of like the darker values here. There we go. And then the refraction is going to be something that really adds a lot to this. You can go in here and say like, all right, well, what's a candy kind of thing? Is that glass? Like, sure, let's do glass. And that's the refraction index or whatever that is officially called. But you can see that will then distort that lollipop stick. And actually, I don't know, I feel like it would make it smaller. So let's go like below 1. Sure, that looks cool. So that's looking good. Let's go to our reflectance. And here we have our specular, and we can really make this looking sexy. Let's bring up some reflection or some specular strength here. And let's have like a really bright highlight and then add a second specular. And this will be more of like a diffuse specular. Let's make this maybe a little, let's do a little green. Let's get crazy. And then let's do additive for that. And this will just be a more diffuse kind of specular. You can see as if we add that to our regular specular, that's hot specular, you can get kind of nice effects by mixing both of them. And of course, our sexy reflection. So let's go ahead and we're going to do additive. It's just what I like to do. Just add that reflection on there. And again, we can have some fun with the reflection color here. Maybe a light teal. Let's go to our Fresnel. Get the dielectric boogie woogie woogie. And let's bring this down just a tad. And then, of course, nothing looks all that great with reflection. Actually, that looks pretty dang cool. Nothing looks all that great until you add some sexy stuff into our scene to actually reflect, right? So let's first save this. Boop. And let's actually bring in the black background there just so we see what that looks like. So let's bring in some sexy stuff to reflect. And that actually looks pretty dang cool by itself. I'm just going to add this little soapy texture to the stick. It's just basically like a white diffuse, like very white, bright texture here with some luminance. Actually, one thing that I did on my original candy is, you know, when you get a lollipop, it has like those little subtle grooves and stuff, because nothing's very perfectly round in nature. So what I added was a couple layered noise, and I always like to make layered noise just so you don't kind of pick out what that exact noise is. Like, oh, that's booyah. That's some booyah noise. Like, no, we like to hide it and combine different noises together. So I'll make a layer shader. I'll get a noise, and one little handy tip, if you want to duplicate noises, just click on that little box, this little preview box, click and drag, and that'll duplicate whatever noise you have. So that's actually something I found by accident, but I tell you what, it's very handy. So for this, let's just make this just big. Let's see. Let's find some nice noise here. Let's do some dents. Sure. Let's do some dent. And let's decrease the octaves here. And maybe get rid of some contrast. So basically, we just want it to look a little bumpy, look imperfect, look a little bit more organic. So that's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and crank up the strength here so we can really see what's going on a little bit more. Just kind of exaggerate it so we can adjust. So let's increase the global scale. Let's say 500. Cool. So we just have like some bumps. Maybe that's a little bit too big actually. Let's do 400. So let's go into our layer again. So that's our first noise. That's our bumpy, what is that? The dense noise, right? So let's multiply that onto this noise. And this noise is going to be that like grooved, like, well, let me just show you. I can't describe it. It's, you know, this elongated kind of scratchy noise that you kind of see on lollipops. So right now, you can kind of see what I'm getting at here. Let's kind of decrease the contrast here. And right now it's facing the wrong direction, because usually it's facing, you know, it's going, what would that be, horizontally. Right now it's going the wrong direction. Let's do UV space, and that should fix it. Actually, now we have to just invert these scale values. So this will be 900, and that'll be like 20, and that should get us going the right way. Cool. So now we get that little spun kind of thing, and actually that's a little bit too much. A little bit too much there. A little too crazy. So let's decrease the contrast. We just want it a little subtle there. And maybe decrease the scale. See how that looks. So we have that multiplied. We can say, all right, let's make this a little bit more bumpy. See what that looks like. That's kind of like masking our little effect of the little sketches that you could probably barely see on the cast here. So let's decrease that so you can see what's going on. You can kind of see the scratches, the little grooves here, but as I increase this, it kind of tempers it down. And again, just making everything look a little bit more organic here. And then that looks good. So let's decrease the strength because it's a little bit too much. Cool. Do 35 because I'm obsessed with rounded numbers. And cool. And now let's get our, so that our texture, all the textures are good. Let's get our environment. Let's get some sexy HDRI Studio in this piece. And let's go to our our HDRI browser. And let's see. I think actually, you know what? That looks good. That looks good. Just got to move up our lollipop here. Let's go ahead and just move everything up. So there's our floor. And let's zoom out. Let's get a camera up in here. Look through there. And I always like wide angle lenses. So let's do something like 35, 50. Like so. And you'll notice that this interactive render region, we lose the jiggle. So just kind of keep that in mind if you're like, what the heck happened with my jiggle? That's just due to the interactive render region. It's just like a limitation. Hopefully Maxon fixes that stuff. But yeah, so let's go ahead and we got our HDRI studio rig, and that's looking good. I don't even think I want to add lights even, because this looks pretty dang good by itself. But what I do want to do is, let's see, let's get some kind of nice orange color for our background. Like so. Let's see. How's that look? Make that brighter. Make everything brighter overall. Maybe add a little bit of yellow back in there. Yeah. Cool. Sweet. So again, our jiggle is not kind of taking effect. So let's go ahead and actually you can see that like bounciness. If you want to get rid of that bounce from the jiggle, we can just increase the drag here, or get rid of the iterations, or actually I think it's the springs. The springs kind of, one of these kind of prohibits the jiggliness, but drag does pretty good as well. So there we go. Got this little melting action going on from our weight maps, and what we can do if we want to render out a still of this, let me just go right away. Let's go into our render settings here. So we got cubic still, that'll give us nice sharp edges for a still render, and I got some ambient occlusion on here. Let's just kind of tamper this down, maybe a little bluish color. Like so. And what you'll notice if I take and I save just a still, so current frame, I'm going to render to picture viewer, and you're going to notice that, what the heck, man, there's no jiggle. It's not looking like our image here, and that's due to the fact that we need to cache our jiggle first. To actually get that and to be able to render a still, because if you render a still in the middle of your composition, or middle of your timeline, it's not, jiggle always kind of activates from frame 0, so it's just kind of just ignoring the jiggle altogether. So we'll just go ahead and calculate the jiggle here, and that's all cached. Now we should be able to go ahead, render to picture viewer, and we should see our little jiggly melts. There we are. There we go. So there is our jiggly melts. And again, we can always have fun with number one. Let's just empty the cache, and we can easily just start rotating this, and our melts will kind of update with however we kind of have this looking. So we can have it straight up and see what that looks like. So Jiggle Deformer, I mean, I know there's other ways to get melty kind of stuff, like you can do sculpting and then also do the pose morph at point level animation and sculpt like that. But you know, if you don't have Cinema 4D with sculpting, or if you want a little bit more interactive fun stuff and you just love the Jiggle Deformer as much as I do, you can get like kind of cool melty effects with the Jiggle Deformer. So just to recap, we made a lollipop, and we made some cool little melt by using the Jiggle Deformer in tandem with painting vertex maps on our geometry to kind of constrain where our Jiggle Deformer's gravity will kind of affect and pull down on the mesh we have. And then we use Pose Morph to actually animate individual drips that we recorded by editing the weight map for each little pose there. So that is how you can use the Jiggle Deformer and weight maps to get cool, melty, goopy, drippy effects. So have fun with it. As always, thank you guys so very much for watching. I want some candy now. If you have any questions, be sure to ask. And if you make anything with this technique, be sure to share it. Love to see what you guys are making. Thanks again. I'll see you guys in the next tutorial.